Right, hell yeah. So this is a pretty good one, and so we'll see how long we make this video. Anyway, so we're going to come in here and kind of slice right in, and we do jump to the other side. So we're actually going to zoom in on this footage, and hell yeah, we jump to the other side and kind of lock that in. Now, I would say in R1 rafting, like with current R1 design, there's... Alright, let's get to here. There's only so many things you can do, you know what I mean? So like, heck yeah, I think as R1 design, changes, and it does, you can have different boats for different things. But definitely being able to edge this tube is allowing me to slide in here. And that's the one thing that comes to mind is like, you know what I mean? If you can't release your other tubes, they're going to be touching the water, and maybe you don't want this tube to touch this incoming water. Okay, hell yeah. So the other thing that I'm going to do, and this is the first time doing this move, is when I enter this wave, if I don't shift to the other side, I'm literally just going to, come across here with this angle, and I'm going to basically get to the other side, the surfer's right side. And so I need some way to stop this momentum. And jumping to the other side from there to there does that, because I can pry my way back. And if you were in a kayak, you would just stick your paddle in the other side. You would be doing this anyway. You would be edging, you'd be entering this wave on this edge, and then once you're in, then you're going to just edge your other tube, a tube or edge in a kayak, and then you're going to, dig in a pry. You know what I mean? That pry is going to... And what that pry does is bring the boat around. And what we're going to notice is that even when I'm jumping, I got an angle towards this right. Every time I do this move, my bow is actually surfing right. And then I'm jumping over to this other side. And then even when I do that, I throw in the pry. And now let's watch the bow square up, and then I can bring the bow around. What's very tricky in R1 is to when you are angled, like the bow's angled to the right and you're on this side, just to paddle it the other direction. And I think maybe from an R1 design perspective, that should be easier. You know what I mean? If I'm centered in the boat, maybe I can lean down this tube, and then maybe that reduces, the surface tension, where you could paddle the boat in a circle easier. I think that could be something, but hell yeah, it's very difficult to paddle this boat around, and so jumping to the other side and prying it in. Alright, hell yeah. Oh, and then there's one more thing there, because anytime that you're jumping from one side of the boat to the other, the boat's going to shift. And so hell yeah, my weight's right here, this is the center of mass. If I jump to the other side, basically, you know what I mean, my center of mass isn't going to change, and the boat's going to really push into this current. And so look at it, now the boat's kind of bulging out this way. And so that's what you're going to notice when you do change positions. And so like I'm over here, and then the second I jump to the other side, the boat should shift. And I think, from here to there, I kind of notice that, and it kind of pushes out. So just be spatially aware of that, to be like, hey, maybe if I jump to the other side, that's advantageous. And for sure it is here, because here is the main pile. I want to drive in on this pile, and if I do jump to the other side, I want my boat to be kind of pushed up against the pile, and there it is. And now we're just seated in that wave. And so hell yeah, jump to the other side, and then, so this shows how you can enter kind of on this, you always want to typically enter up against the wave. Not always, but that can be advantageous. And in this one, that's my only option. These two boulders right in here and this water will mess me up and stop my momentum. So I'm really just trying to slice in through here. Hell yeah, but then I'm jumping to the other side to stop that. Now, if I can, and I'm at this flow, I am able to paddle in on this far tube. It's just a lot harder. I have to kind of square up and keep nosing in. But this just allows me to just shoot right across. But if I was on that other side, hell yeah, that's going to push the boat up against this wave, and it's more neutral to surfing. But this right side is just a little bit tough. Once I enter in on this right side, like I said, I'm just going the other direction. Now this right side is my offside, so maybe that plays a little bit of a role. So shifting to that left side, that's kind of where my strong side is. All right, hell yeah. Excuse me. The other part of this video is we do a big, just a really nice straight surf, and I definitely like this position that I'm in. You know what I mean? From the Colorado boaters, definitely, 3 Colorado R1 boaters have been surfing from the back of their boat primarily. You know what I mean? My boat doesn't have a big triangle back there, so I'm not able to really get my feet in there. And cold water, you do have a flip risk because you're so far low siding once the boat does turn. But hell yeah, so this is kind of simulating that. It's just like, you know what I mean? I can sit on this thwart and lean back, and you know what I mean? And so I was kind of working on that. And so I'm sitting centered, and even just like right there, I'm centered, and now I can actually lean to this other side, and my paddle's still on surfer's left. So that kind of, and this is one thing that I do want, this would be the first and easiest thing from an R1 design, is just make a platform on here. Kind of simple platform out of a little piece of wood, and then kind of foam it or carpet it up. Foam would be nicer, but wood for rigidity, and then I can just jump on it. So I could literally move my body, farther back into this well, but because it's, because you have like a frame right there, you just have a surface to jump on, and I think that'll be pivotal to actually jump to these surfaces and see which one is the best just by getting your weight there. And hell yeah. And so, because people were just like, hey, I want to just be able to front surf. And sitting in the back of the boat typically is the best way to front surf. It's just a little bit unstable because it's hard to do like a back and forth, which I think I would like to see some of the boaters that do surf from the back switch paddle strokes, go from your left to your right. Even though I'm not switching, I'm still staying on my strong side right in here. A lot of waves are very conducive to surfing back and forth and switching sides. All right, hell yeah. Now here's the juice of this. This actually, we were able to stick all these rotations. So it's almost like a 360 and another half rotation. So let's break this down. And this stuck just based on, I don't even know. I actually probably have to redo this, like specifically look at this, because this isn't a very sticky location. Now, I do know that if I'm surfing right here and I allow the boat to drive into the trough, I can surf on this wave. But this is very fascinating to me because I'm actually just leaning far back. So this is just new dynamics to me because I don't have a lot of reps surfing from the back of the boat, and this is kind of the farthest I've been leaning back, and I have been working on that. You know what I mean? If they're surfing from the back of the boat, I'm going to try to lean back and get this position from here. And so I am deep in the trough. Now we bite right here, but I'm kind of maybe turning and softening that blow. So even as the boat's turning, it's still kind of it's still low in the trough, and so this hitting right here is really so I can see that now. I can see that, heck yeah, if I just throw in a pry, we're going to be surfing back in. Hell yeah, getting that back in. But now this one's a little bit different. This sets up a low side turn because this is the low side. We're on the low side tube, and I know that. So this is a fakie shove it. I think the fakie shove it is the one that you're going to do the most, and that I'm going to do the most, is because you're going to do a 180. You know what I mean? 180's done, but you're still sitting in the fakie position, heavily weighting the new bow. That's why it's fakie. It'd be kind of like the nollie position if I was face forward. And we're low siding this tube, so this tube's going to bite hard. Or, it doesn't really bite hard in this, but I do at some point, when this bites in, needs to jump to the high side. Now it's a fakie shove it because I'm facing downstream, and all I have to do is just high side and keep facing downstream, even though I do a rotation, just because I don't need to do that. I don't need to look down the trough. I just do that instinctively because that seems like a good idea. Actually, in this one, I think it's more beneficial. And I think from the fakie shove it, like if I am in a fakie shove it, I do need to do a paddle switch anyway. And so, jumping forward and switching paddles would make the most sense because we lost it. So like right here's the fakie shove it. Let's analyze this. Because let's say let's say I just jumped forward to this tube, I would, and just, let's say I just sat on that tube over there, because that's going to be the front tube. If I sat on that tube, my paddle would have to be in my opposite hand. So I do need to switch paddle hands. The T-grip hand becomes the shaft hand. The left hand needs to go to the T-grip. But doing this rotation isn't advantageous, because I need to, well, I don't know, it's not that bad. But hell yeah. And see, like right now, my paddles, I need to switch paddle hands, and so that's when I do. So I kind of switch paddle hands late, but I just need to intuit that if I'm going into a fakie shove, I need to switch paddle hands, and I can do that at any point. So we do it, and now we're just doing a shove it. We're low siding a tube, we're facing forward, but I quickly realized potentially that this shove it, there's nothing to bite up against over here. And so maybe I'm intuiting, jumping to the other side and then, doing a another pryed turn, and that pryed turn goes. So that's fascinating. So if I'm set up for a shove it, but there's nothing to shove against, just jump to the other side, because this also, you don't have to set up a shove it from a low-sided tube. If I drop this low-sided tube in, I always thought, before doing the shove it and talking about that for so long, if you drop in the low-sided tube and jump to the other side, what you're doing is you're propelling this low-sided tube deeper into the trough, and you're building up its energy. And now when I'm jumping to the other side, I can see that now I'm in a very low position, and this low-sided tube already got kind of, is ready to get hit. There's not too much tackiness over here, but when that swings, that's going to swing more. So being on a low side and driving a low side across and then switching to the high side is the same thing as just being over here and kind of paddling in. But if I paddled in, that reduces that rotation. So the low side tube in R1 is one of the fundamentals to be like, hey, I recognize that I'm on a low side tube and I'm going to use it. And I've talked about how, hell yeah, you can just use this as a shove it where you don't do a body varial. But I think I need to get back to using this low side tube and then jumping to the other side and then just setting up a traditional turn. Traditional turn just meaning a pryed turn. That's going to be your classic, and that's going to spin around. Okay, now I'm back into the fakie shove it position. And now I can intuit this, that hey, if I'm in the fakie shove it position, we just said the shove it position really helps this turn. I need to jump to the other side and then pry. So in this, from fakie shove, I need to jump to the other side and do a body varial. You know what I mean? Or jump to the other side and pry the bow. That would be a little bit harder. But definitely, fakie shove, jump to the other side. I do want to try prying the bow. I think that would be useful, so then I don't have to feel like I'm facing down the trough. And yeah, I think I made a video on that, because if I am in the fakie, kind of shove it position or the fakie low-sided tube position, might as well jump to this opposite tube and just start forward paddling. That's the thing that makes most sense. But I just definitely have to recognize that if I'm in the fakie position for a fakie shove, or if I'm on the fakie low side, because if you're on the fakie low side, you have to jump to the opposite tube anyway. Most low-sided tubes, you can't stay on this tube because it's the low side tube. You got to jump to the other side. And if I'm in the fakie position, I need to paddle. I need to switch hands with the paddle. If I'm in just the traditional low-sided position, I can do a shove it without switching paddle hands. But hell yeah, so this one definitely, and I don't know if that's true or not. I think it is. If I was on this side with the right paddle in, and then the boat spins, and I jump to this tube, and then I'm on that tube, yes, I'm paddling on the right side. But if I'm in this fakie position and I jump to the other side in the forward and still in this backward facing position, I would need to, so like right here, I'm paddles in my left hand. If I jumped to the other tube facing this direction, facing downstream, I definitely need to get to to switch paddle hands, I think. Yeah, it's really difficult for me to see. I don't know why that is. Like, obviously, if I'm paddling forward on this side and I would jump to the other side, I would need to paddle forward. So I need to switch. So why, if I'm here, I don't care if I'm slowing this down, why if I'm here, if I'm facing this direction and paddling on my right side, and then I do this and I jump to this tube and this tube comes around, I'm still paddling on my right side. Oh, it's because if I'm facing this trough, I didn't rotate my body. And so that's the biggest deal right there. Where so it's not a fakie shove it if I am face backwards and jump to this opposite tube and face forward. And so that is the interesting thing. Where if I'm setting up this fakie move, it's not a shove it if I just jump to the opposite side and still face downstream at that point, because then I'm allowing my body to do a rotation. Okay, so that's fascinating. And that's the same thing as this last trick where where was it? It was like right, no, it was the first one. I don't know. Let's watch these all the way through. But hell yeah. Again, these videos are just for me. But it is good to slowly analyze. If I can't figure out what's going on, you're not going to be able to figure out what's going on. But yeah, that one was. So I'm dropping in on a low side tube, just facing in the normal surfer's position. I'm going to jump to the other side. No body rotation yet. But now when I pry this, my body rotates around. Now I'm backwards. Okay, so that's the deal. That's not a shove it. A shove it is when I'm on this tube, low siding it in, and then when the boat goes into a side surf, I'm still facing the trough, so I don't rotate my body. And as the boat continues another 90, I'm still facing the trough. And so with a shove it, I'm never faced backwards. But this is going to be the easier thing. The easier thing to complete a turn. So this is in the fundamentals of like, hey, low siding this tube, jump to the other side, still facing the same direction, and then laying in a pry. But that's the same thing as going fakie. Fakie says, hey, I'm low siding this tube, it's going to build up, jump to the other side, don't switch directions yet, but then take a forward stroke. And yeah, the forward stroke would be the same as doing the pry. And in this, because you're already backwards, what happens is that it's very difficult to realize that I need to get into this quadrant. Like really, even if I jump forward position, it's hard to sit over this thwart even. And so to really, kind of jump for this forward quadrant and lean over it and do a forward paddle stroke. And the cool thing is that if I treat this fakie low side tube, to jump to the other side to just finish with a bow, pry off the bow. And it's not even a pry off, it's just a forward sweep off the bow, which technically is a pry off the bow. Yeah, forward sweep, a forward paddle off the bow in the switched position. Yeah, and that switch, yes, if I jump to this side at switch, doesn't switch position has nothing to do with strong side, weak side. And so that's where, like, from a skateboard perspective, you have four things going on. If I do jump to this other side, it is my right side. That's my weak side. But it would be, and if I jump to the forward portion of the boat, that would be, the switch position. Right here, I'm in the fakie strong side position. If I jump just forward onto that thwart, that would be the switch position on my strong side. Okay, hell yeah. So anyway, again, video just for me, but I think doing that, it's like, hell yeah, I can remember that. If I'm in fake, no, I can't. You know what I mean? After a day goes by, I forget all this. I need to take note cards if I actually want to, be like, hey, let's do this move from these fundamentals. But we get a little bit better. So hell yeah. So fakie low-sided tube, I can jump early to the other side. And then it's kind of just doing a pry, but in reverse. Facing forward downstream, and instead of a pry, it's a sweep off the bow. Hell yeah. And that one could have gone, So let's watch the turns that do go. So the first one, fairly simple. The second one is a low-sided tube. And let's see, even that one. The second one, oh yeah. The first one, fairly simple. The second one was a fakie. Yeah, we're dropping in fakie, but we're just using our body to high side. So the last one was kind of a fakie shove it. After the fakie shove it, we're kind of back to a normal position. This is a traditional, well, not a traditional, but it's a low-sided tube, jump to the pry, same thing, and this one does go. So that was the sweet one. This one, we should be doing kind of the same thing, and I kind of do. You know, I actually didn't even have to switch paddle hands. That is fascinating. You know, because I'm paddling on this side, I can just jump to the other side. Oh, that's really weird. Oh, the reason is because if I do that, if I bring this paddle all the way around the bow of the boat, I need a little bit of water. Okay, this is going to be way better for me. If I bring this paddle all the way around the boat, I do a body varial. You know what I mean? So if I get this paddle in on this side, now I'm looking that way. But like I literally just have to turn my body 90. And then I can actually just forward sweep or pry. I can even pry the bow from this position, I think. Prying the bow is oh, that's kind of fascinating. That a pry of the bow is a forward sweep. Is that true? I can't even think right now, but it's really interesting. But at least gives me some places, some markers to actually jump to see that if we are into this fakie position, hey, I can just maybe get my paddle to the other side, and I see that. But that one does not go. All right, hell yeah. Let's watch this all the way through. And booyah. And this is my offside going in here. So offside, switch. Now I'm on my strong side. Hell yeah. We're going to do a close-up of this. Hell yeah. And that body switch pushes out the boat. Nice. All right, now we're going to get to the center of the back thwart. Really lean off that back. Again, if I have a platform back there, I could really accentuate this. Because what this does is get that front and nose off of the water. So hell yeah. And then from that, I can really lay this slowly in, let that bow bite in a second. So I'm going to let this bow bite. And that's going to slowly kind of toaster the boat. And I can kind of feel that, slow it down. Hell yeah. And now we're in this low-sided turn, jump to the other side, do a pry. Now we're in a fakie position. Should be able to hold that one. You know, so maybe I could do that on repeat. All right, thanks for joining me. Booyah.